Hello everyone, this is Mais Taha. I'm an architect engineer and today I will be representing a special presentation because this is my last contribution in the BIM industry. I moved to the digital twins industry and I will tell you the story now. In my career, I am running currently different startups, mainly IPX, MTiPx in Malta, which is my current company, and also another incorporated company for green certification, zero waste in USA. Among that, I have been a designer, an eco-designer since 2011 under Siltis, which is a non-profit, non-registered NGO, and my own brand as a designer and another two management system initiatives. So I'm involved in EIT climate kick in different areas, especially raw material and EIT manufacturing. So today, what we will be talking about is the digital natural resources and material consumption from different angles, eco-design, main principles, and eco-design process, how it makes a difference in different ways, digital design as the crude oil and how it is the main engine for eco-design, and my blueprint for achieving zero waste in design. These are the ideas, there is no hierarchy. So if you are ready, we will start. Eco-digital design or digital eco-design, and does it make a difference if we see it the starting point from different ends? Yes, it does. Eco-digital design is a digital design methodology, in my opinion, that serves eco purposes. So you can use it for multi-project and multi-purposes addressed to the same end result. While digital eco-design is a digital design for a very specific eco-design, and it can be for similar cases, but it's a very narrow use. But at the very end, also it's digital. So when it comes to eco-design, as it should be the starting point, and it is the procedure or the methodology that serves a wider range of projects. The first perfect example of eco-design is vernacular architecture, and it's my favorite because everyone can see it if they travel, everyone can see it if they can compare the different architectural needs in different regions. For example, this is an Irish house, a modern one, but with the vernacular strategies, and you can see how the body or the skeleton of the building, the envelope, deals with the environmental need of snows. Also, you can see how designers are taking advantage of natural light. When it comes to the other eco-modular design strategy, it is the modular design in different type of buildings, especially in this fantastic example as a school in Africa. They used sustainable materials including wood, and they did a very nice composition that makes develops shades in the building all around the day, which enables the students to find shades all along the day when they come in the morning, when it's of the afternoon, and of course the amount of light for a school is perfect. When it comes also to architectural design technologies, which is one of the other strategies and the main tools for eco-design, it is the contextual architecture and how it helps us in dealing with contextual architecture and how it helps us in recording heritage architecture. Heritage architecture, especially like Petra in Jordan, it's not a normal city. It's a city engraved in stone. And when you say city engraved in stone, it's literally city. You have courts, you have treasures, and you have important building, and you have caves for common people. So it's an entire city. My first exposure was in 2004, and it was laser scanning in a university trip. It was fantastic to see how the clouds work for such a very complicated building. And when it comes to the 3D printing design technology, it was also used to produce high level of details for such building. It was also very important to recognize the amount of material you use when you implement the strategies of 3D printing and which material to use in 3D printing. This example is for digital eco-design. This example shows an installation for Earth Day, which is illuminated earth. It's around 90 to 95% sustainable, upcycled plastic and cardboard with some spray. And the spray is the only new material. And this is an example that shows how much one person can consume water in a year. These are the plastic bottles of one person. It's more than 373, so it was more a call to stop using plastic. And when we see how it was used, the digital design, it was for the distribution of these bottles to recreate Earth. And there was no large scale printing. It was only an A3 to do the puzzles, and anything else was fully digital. And this is how you know how many bottles you have of each type, and even how we arrange the types. It was by having the receipts from the seller. The other fantastic modern example for environmental and eco design is kinetic architecture. Kinetic envelopes helps in creating better spaces for users, and also it enables users to have light in different ranges among the day. Also, currently, they even have the entire facade changing the shapes and giving balconies in certain times of the use. My first exposure in kinetic architecture was in 2005 2006, and my graduation project was a fully changeable form that was arranged in fixed structures of fixed frame, kinetic frames, and the kinetic platforms. The skin was the most interactive part because when the subframes rotate, the skin will adapt from being solid and having a very small reflective material to become larger with full reflective faces and a translucent also material in the middle. Of course, such element will be high maintenance, but back then it was only a student project. We didn't even build it, but it's just an idea how far we can go with kinetic architecture. As we spoke about kinetic architecture and interactive design, we can speak also about smart cities. Smart cities are an essential part of modern life. It won't be too long since we really start utilizing this technology, and many countries are very strong in this. I won't mention them because people get angry if I said this and then not said that and not the other. But in general, developing smart cities or developing digital twins needs a rare experience and high prototyping cost because of the range of expertise that you need. So in this area specifically in the industry, there is a no gap, and this know-how gap comes from ambiguity, complexity, and the time frames. So we can fix this type of problems by having a digital design assessment, by filtering the data, and by providing time simulation. So this is what my company MTiPx is doing. We use different data design technologies to empower and enable other designers to build digital twins, and even non-designers to assist the possibility to produce a digital twin. And digital twins, as mentioned, is the new crude oil, and it's totally different than BIM strategies. Why? Because BIM, as we all know, it's a process, technology, people. And it's not really easy to rearrange the three because if you don't start with a process, you will have problems in many ways. But when it comes to digital twins, we are talking about the social world, the physical world, and the digital world. And as we all know, the digital world is way faster than the physical world. While as a human being, we can adapt to any technology or any envelopes that we live in as we live in buildings. So, as we are doing the transition from BIM to digital twins in many areas, and I want to highlight my exposure in the BIM industry, my the pros and cons in different experiences. When it comes to the very typical BIM management, which is in BIM production, it was the most important part, the database workflow. Most companies, BIM companies, struggle with the data sufficiency and the data distribution in the model. And the other good thing that when you do automation, you can get faster production. Yet, as we all know, BIM models must be verified. And the more you automate, use Dynamo or any other tool, you will have the problem of harder model verification time. And it was ironic that when I asked the team member who automate to to release the clashes or to solve the clashes, he refused and he stopped automating. So you really must be very smart when to automate and how to do it without impacting the model quality. When it comes to the second example, it is when it's done in multidisciplinary firm, and usually it is my strategy was the communication and the coordination workflows. The pros and the nice part was that it is very sophisticated, and the coordination roadmap will have a very um, nice traffic of data when you really understand it. The challenge is the different priorities for the different team members, because when you are talking about multidisciplinary firms, assuming that a firm has 10 departments, they might have 15 workflows, because you are not building the system for the departments, you are building the system for the production lines. And this is the difference between dealing with data or dealing with just final products. You must really understand what are the outputs of each department, and then you will build the coordination system. Of course, there was many challenges, and the main one is the different priorities and the different levels of the know-how. Now, the last experience was in a micro-architectural firm and micro-architectural strategy. It was about digitizing the process and giving a digital brand. The process was it was very focused, and it is nice to give a typical office a digital brand. The problem, it needs intensive supervision until it succeeds, and it needs to be integrated with every team member to know how to do it. And as we all know, people leave, and when anyone replace anyone, you will need to start from the beginning again. So this was the pros and this was the cons. Now, why BIM fail? I will give my top 6 reasons. Other BIM managers and other designers will have other reasons, but mainly the team orientation, because we might have different priorities. Choosing the right direction, like where to start with what. For example, big firms should always be top down. It won't happen for a multidisciplinary firm to start from technical level or even middle management. You will need to have a full strategy that flows in the entire organization. And when it comes to the top management, they must be very interested. The time is never what you assume it, and you must be smart on how to catch up when COVID happens or anything else. Fast change in technologies, and this is why we will always need to build the process first, because the process should adapt to the technologies, not the technologies should adapt a process, or you don't customize your process to a technology. And this is why I don't like defined products in BIM. Like you don't, it's very rare that two firms or two projects will need the same outputs. This so when there's a procedure that gives the same output, I don't feel that this is a right workflow. A predefined output. Define outputs should be defined by the process built for this exact design or for the entire communication, but not that specific. So and also over automation, as mentioned, it will affect the verification. Now, my recommendation, always understand the output or in the final use. It helps a lot. And this is how you know what were the problem in certain area in the project. Keep in mind that it's a process. It's not technology. And of course, people matters a lot, but people will adapt to the process. Know the engineering needs. We always should remember that we are using BIM to solve engineering problems, not you are using BIM for BIM. Many people forgot the purpose of why we are using BIM. It's not about software. It's about the process, and about the process is about the final product. The final product is high quality buildings and digital twins or as built models that can be used for operation. Keep a track for time and technology updates because the technology always change and there is many software that will help you to reduce time. Keep it simple. Strong process is simple process. Don't complicate it. And work only with the right teams. The process should be easy enough to understood by all the team members. Now, this is the roadmap I use or how I think when I come to think about a greener interactive design. First is the design standard in sustainability aspect and the simple standard, the new Ford and time saver. If you remember, if you are a designer, you know them. These two books are crucial until the date. If you get the spaces right, you get the entire life cycle right. But if you don't understand the spaces or we have problems in space management, when defects start and in all systems, not only in architectural systems. So standards. And then generative design is fantastic to know the alternatives that want to cross the mankind mind. And that's why you can play with different tools and different generative design providers. VR, AR is a fantastic decision-making tools. And with this is three um, digital design tools, you can really finish a fantastic concept for any client and they can live in it in one-to-one or real-time scale. Now, zero waste certificate is inspired by my exposure in both the industrial design and the built environment design because we design waste or we calculate waste. Like we assume that we will waste 15% and we don't use any tools to just reduce the waste. So zero waste certification is under discussion with the Green Business Certification Inc. in Washington, and we are trying to build a framework that will support designer to save 25% up to 60% of the material in the physical designs, in the industrial design, and in the built environment designs. And saving material will have a great impact in saving the energy, in reducing pollution, and of course in reducing the emissions. So you can stay tuned for this one. And the 3D printing technologies are getting more interesting by time. There is, I heard that there will be 3D printing glass. There is already 3D printing steel and 3D printing food. So designers from all the industry can really utilize this technology. Holographic display is becoming a trend and it's cheap. It's not that expensive compared to the other technology. You can get the tool for around 60 euros. So it's affordable. And of course, you always start keeping in mind what phase of the design you are designing for. Don't always assume that starting from scratch is the solution. Renovation is a good solution, a better solution if you don't have to demolish. And when you talk our work in heritage architecture, you will always need to think of how to protect heritage first. So keep the life cycle in mind because the life cycle defines the stakeholders and the stakeholders are the decision maker and the decision maker can help you to reach the optimum design and the optimum project results you want to reach. So as an end, I want to tell everyone that is watching this presentation that we will have a promo code for anyone who will subscribe in our websites, MTiPx.eu or zerowaste.world. The first one is a design review a platform, and the other one is certification system. So the codes won't have an expiry date. We will recontact you if you send us an email. And please don't hesitate to contact me or to ask me questions now in the chat box, and I will be available to answer you. So thank you very much, and I hope that you will enjoy the conference. It will be informative, and there will be lots of expertise exchange. Thank you all.